So the company originally began when my father was given an opportunity during sort of Maggie Thatcher's leadership where he could take a year out from working in the everyday job. He was a deputy headmaster and he could spend a year sort of selling the Jaguar parts and maintaining the cars for the people he knew. And then at the end of that year he had to make a decision whether to go back to the school teaching or whether to continue with the Jaguar parts sales and maintenance, which he did. He took the plunge and then the business grew and grew from there, in effect.
I started off and I went to art college and did a pre-diploma in art and design and decided that fine art probably wasn't the thing I should be doing, and I wanted to design cars, but I'd left it too late and I didn't want to start over again and do another year and so on and so forth, because I wanted to earn some money so I could then have enough money to buy the sort of cars that I liked.
He used to be in Cradley Heath in Birmingham in a high-rise block of flats, and they literally used to be in the top flat. So he used to have people bring cars and he'd work on them outside on the grass, literally, with a bottle jack and some spanners. And if he ever needed anything, it was something like 20 flights up in a lift to go up to his flat with my mother and then get the bits that he needed straight back down, and he was sort of maintaining the cars in that sort of way.
Then ended up, where I had the opportunity that I could go back into education if I'd so wished, but came here to Park Farm and started our own business with my wife.
And this was just a derelict farm falling to the ground, and it had been abandoned for about 10 years, I would say. So now he took the plunge and he saw into the future. He had the foresight to see that with the buildings he had the ability then to have a business with low cost and low overheads in terms of what facilities he could then put within his own home and have on his doorstep, really, to then conduct the business.
We grew up here in what is not just a business, a family home. My mother and father dedicated their lives to producing the home as well as making sure that the business was established. And then through that we've had definitely a passion that the family have for the Jaguar car, that we were able to all have a livelihood from it.
And then we built things up, and the timing that we had was pretty good, because about that time, 1988, we had the classic car boom, but it was shortly followed by a crash. But we managed to go through all of it because basically it didn't matter whether the car was worth £1,000 or £100,000. If you need a fan belt, you need a fan belt.
A lot of the parts would be original factory parts that he would find from, again, people within the industry that would advertise these things, and it was just, again, really word of mouth in that day and age as much as anything. But now he had a number of good sources and people that he knew within the area that occasionally would come up with certain sort of stockpiles of one component, whether it was bonnets or wings or anything of that nature, and then he would literally buy them and then try to sell them on from there.
Well, to begin with, the whole idea of me selling spare parts was to give me enough money so I could indulge my hobby, which was classic cars and in particular Jaguars. So, to begin with, it was all spare parts, and then to sell more spare parts, if you fitted them, you obviously got a bigger turnover.
I mean, originally I was at university and I was asked by father to come and to help him when I was 21, so I had the opportunity to join the business a bit like himself. So took a year out, helped Dad for that year, and to be honest with you, it's just like a hobby that is a profession, and I just didn't really want to go back to university and enjoyed establishing myself within the business. So my mother had actually retired, so I was given the opportunity to be director in place of her. So I became shareholder of the company, took over from my mum. She was able to retire and spend more time around the home and garden, and I sort of joined Dad, and at that time the business was just purely myself, my father, one helper in the stores, and then I think we had at the time 4 mechanics in the workshop, so it was quite a small outfit at that time.
And the spare parts sales side and the restoration side of M&C Wilkinson Limited has gone from strength to strength.
In around, it'll be 2017, we had the opportunity to actually, well, we tried to build a home, but we couldn't actually get planning permission for a home. We could only get industrial. So instead of myself being able to live here on site with father, we decided that we would build the showroom that we're sat in now, and from there then we established a sister company called Sayer Selection.
And we wanted to be able to say, look, we not only build them and restore them, we're proud to sell them on further.
It gives people the ability that if they're looking to sell a car, they can come to us and we can give them a package, obviously, to market the car for them, or in terms of whether they obviously want to come and view a car, buy it, test it.
And we're here to look after, maintain and keep them going in every way we can.
And then, in all honesty, over time, and with the sort of classic car boom from about sort of 2012 to 17, we did manage to sort of grow the business. We took on more mechanics and people working for us. We were selling more parts at the time, so we had more people in the office and doing the admin. And fortunately, we managed to get enough inquiries and enough business off the back of it, and we even took up the idea to go motor racing. So it wasn't something that the business did, but it was something that me and my father wanted to do after the loss of my grandfather. So we wanted something that would bring us together. We got our racing licence, and then from there we had an E-Type that we built, and we just went racing really as something to bring me and father together and give us something to do on a weekend and have a common link.
So we drove all of the Top Hat series, Heritage GT, Classic Sports Car Club. You know, we did rather well and won a number of races still.
Fortunately, we were quite successful, and from there people then approached us and asked if we could prepare the cars for themselves, possibly to then, obviously for them to race in historic race meetings.
We actually got invited to go to Goodwood and race in the TT, and as I'd not raced for many, many years, we had to get, you know, some times and lap times and times in the seat to get you so you could at least give the car a reasonable outing rather than be last in the field. So the car that we built, we used to race that all the time. And we went to the first ever race meeting that the Classic Sports Car Club had, and we went with two drivers. So I was driving, and a colleague and friend, John Bussell, who was a really good driver, you know, 3 times Porsche Cup champion.
John Bussell diving out the inside in the E-Type. Very experienced, very quick driver, John Bussell. One to watch on a rather greasy circuit here. It's been raining just a little bit before the race got underway. Now John Bussell, look in the E-Type, making a move on the inside. They're all over the curb to try to go ahead of Rick Lloyd as they turn their way through the double apex right-hander of Coppice.
And he put it on pole. So the first time I'd raced in probably 25 years, I was sat there on pole, you know. And anyway, I didn't stay there long, but we did manage to come third in the end. So suddenly, you know, we weren't doing too bad, and the car seemed to perform well. And at that point, you know, people who knew John Bussell and said, "What's the car that you seem to drive on a weekend, John?" And he told them about us, and then the people who wanted to go racing in the same way that I did, they started to come and ask us if we'd build a car for them.
Once you were successful and we were winning races, that's when we were approached by sort of people that were watching or involved in motorsport already and said, "Can you prepare my E-Type or my Mark II?"
It improved our business no end, and we had and still have a number of, you know, really good high-profile historic racers who like the things that we do and produce.
My sort of favourite car, again, which we developed from 2011, we had an E-Type, which is registration XAM 555.
And that is the new quickest car number 21, Graham and James Dodd.
So that is the car that we've won the Jaguar Classic Challenge in 2017-23.
Bradley Ellis at the moment, though, in car 47, the E-Type, in third place, a tenth of a second. We get him up into second on the grid. And the former British GT champion is really giving it a crack. This will be his penultimate flying lap. He should have time to get round onto another.
Well, you have to feel with no traffic ahead of him, he's got all opportunity to get a good second sector, and then let's see what he can do at the end of the lap. There is an E-Type ahead of him, but it's some way up the road. This should be a really good lap for Bradley Ellis.
When we first actually built that car, we sort of had the aim that by the end of the year we would do what's called the Spa 6 Hour race, which is a race for pre-66 GT cars. They generally have 2 pit stops for fuel and 3 drivers, where you do a driver change every 2 hours. But we went out for the first time and didn't really have massive expectations. We thought it was going to be more of a learning curve, but fortunately the car went round for 6 hours without a problem, and we actually won the race overall in the GT class and were 3rd overall, only behind 2 GT40s, which was just mind-boggling in all honesty. We never expected to be as competitive first time out.
If you stood at the Spa 6 Hour race and you wave into your customer who's on the podium because he's just won it and it was his lifetime ambition, you feel that you might have done things okay.
Hi there, we're at Silverstone for the GT&SCC meeting. It's a 2-hour race this afternoon. We've just finished half an hour's qualifying. We've had a bit of misfortune, went over track limits, which has cost us 2nd place on the grid. But we've actually got 2nd place with another car, 6th and 7th for the 2 other E-types, so it should be a thoroughly interesting race this afternoon.
My name is James Dodd, and we drive the father and son team Jaguar E-Type together.
I'm Graham Dodd. I'm racing the E-Type in the GT&SCC today, the 2-hour race, 2 driver options. So you've got a 15-minute maximum run you can do in each set, so that means you have to do 2 pit stops. So some people are running 2 drivers, some running 3 drivers. But we're going to run 2 drivers. James and myself are in the E-Type that's prepared by Mike and his team at M&C Wilkinson's. They do a great job, and hopefully the car will still be here at the end of the 2 hours. Yeah, the qualifying was difficult today actually, because we had 4 of our lap times deleted. Our best 4 laps were deleted, which has pushed us down the grid for starting. Over track limits, there's a bit of a discrepancy. We tend to believe that 2 wheels on the track is okay, but they're running the rule at the moment in qualifying that they want 4 wheels on the track. So we're trying to find that out for today, because that could make the difference between winning and losing.
First time back in the car for 9 months. I haven't driven any track time at all for 9 months, so the car has been overhauled since last year. The car feels great, actually. The engine's just been refreshed, and I'm very pleased with that result, actually. My dad, I think, was a little bit slower than normally is, but hopefully we can venture more, hopefully, for the race. I mean, it's a 2-hour race, so a lot can happen in that time.
I think we're just here to learn, to do our best, and I don't know, maybe we can get into the top 3, top 4. That would be a nice target, I think.
I just think the look of the E-Type is just iconic, beautiful car from a period. To drive it, it's very unique. It's very fluid and quite relaxed. There's no major drama. It doesn't, it's not snappy, it doesn't try and bite you off.
Yeah, it's a privilege, obviously, to be asked, and you know, it's yeah, I've grown up watching these cars, and they're, you know, they're beautiful to look at, and you know, equally as fun to drive. So, you know, as soon as you sort of load the car into the corner, you need to get off the brakes and back on the throttle quite quickly, because yeah, they've got so much power. You know, you need to use that as much as you can. You know, if you're knocked sideways, you're going too slow. So it's yeah, it's good fun to drive, but obviously a long race today, we're going to have to look after those rear tyres and make sure we get to the end. But yeah, they're great fun. Great fun.
These historic cars, certainly on these tyres, they move around quite a lot underneath you. So obviously they're rear-wheel drive. They have a lot of power comparative to the handling of the, you know, of the day. Don't forget, these are very old cars. So they have so much grunt down the straights. So, you know, what is there not to love? Like, slip and slide around the corners, they go fast, and they accelerate well. Just brilliant cars to drive.
It's a real good privilege to drive with Dad. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're all going to get older. I just do it as long as I can do it for, as long as he can do it.
For me, that's what I want to do, yeah, is driving my son. My idea one day is to do, I've done quite a bit of the Spa 6 hours, so my idea would be to drive long enough to drive with my son and my grandson and do a 6 hour. He's 16 now, so hopefully he can get a licence soon, and I can do, that would be my pinnacle then to do, to run 3 from the same family.
We've raced with M&C Wilkinson for, I'm going to say, must be 5, 6 years perhaps now, maybe longer actually. Fantastic. I mean, great help throughout the whole weekend, prepping the car, and yeah, fantastic.
Obviously, they know these cars inside out. My first time with them and with the team, and yeah, so far everything's going great. Hopefully, we'll get to the end of the race, but yeah, everything, you know, has been checked and prepared as well as it could be, and yeah, it should be a good result.
I mean, it's obviously fantastic to have somebody with so much experience looking after these cars. I mean, you know, these are obviously Jaguar specialists, so you know, there's certain nuances to these cars that only guys like these know. Certainly people like myself and Marcus that, you know, haven't owned one of these cars before, haven't driven one of these cars before, you know, we have no idea with regards to setup and how to make these things go fast. So, you know, having somebody like these guys on board behind us certainly helps us to get that extra bit of pace out of the car. I mean, at least we're safe in the knowledge that the car is well prepared, fast and ready to go. We just got to get up to speed as drivers.
For me as a driver, M&C Wilkinson to me is, you basically arrive, you're stress-free, they look after the car, you haven't got to worry about anything. Just get in the car, just drive it, and just focus on the driving side, basically. Worry about yourself, and they sort the car out.
At the end of the day, it's a team effort, as they always say with any motorsport. The driver's the nut behind the wheel. You know, the rest of it is all down to the car. If the car's not prepared right, the car won't last, and therefore you don't finish. And you've got to have a car that can finish. You can be the best driver in the world. If the car's not prepped right or set right, it doesn't work. So it's all about a team. And Mike and his team, they offer a great team. M&C Wilkinson, it's a really good team effort.
Coming to us. I mean, behind me there's the Morse car. It's not a lookalike. It's been sent to us to make it so it will, you know, be a more drivable and enjoyable vehicle. It's just waiting to return.
One of my most favourite restorations has to be again when sort of first started. So if we go right back to about sort of 2007, which is when we'd first sort of took on the racing aspect and we were growing as a company racing with the Jaguars. We were given the opportunity to actually purchase with a client Chassis 1 Broadspeed XJ12C, which was a car that raced in 1976 with Andy Rouse, Derek Bell and David Hobbs. So the car had never been used since 1976. It'd literally been in the Coventry Museum of Transport. So my father and a friend of his, they managed to do a deal to actually buy the Broadspeed on behalf of our client at the time, Chris Scragg. Brought the car back, and then we had a 2-year really restoration project, not just to restore the car, but to actually make the car have the ability to race successfully. And one of the most difficult things about that, in all honesty, was that the cars in period always sort of set the fastest lap, pole position, but would expire within a short period of time because Jaguar and dear old British Leyland wanted to use a lot of standard components that were being used on the standard road car. The thing that we realised at that time was we were going to have to redevelop some of these components to a racing quality. That's why really it was a 2-year project, because every single component on the car we had to look through, redesign, re-engineer and make it have the ability to, in this day and age, complete a 40-minute race. We redesigned the rear uprights, drive shafts and the rear axle system, brand new engine, all new cooling system to a sort of Formula 1 specification. We've redesigned then over time things like the gearbox and the differential to be strong enough to actually take again the power, so we didn't have a failure there. And basically the car, as I say, took 2 years to complete and then build into a ready functioning car to test. And then first time out at the end of, I think it was the season in 2010, we did a Masters race meeting at Mallory Park for the first time. And there was 2 races over the weekend, and pleased to say, to cut a long story short, in race 1, we actually won first time out at Mallory Park. So that was really very rewarding as a first time out achievement after all that hard work over 2 years, to see the car manage to do what it didn't in period and actually give us the opportunity to achieve what was the first time an XJ12 at Broadspeed had actually won a race.
Most of the people who work for us today, they've not been here for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Nearly everybody's been here about 10 or 20 years, at least, if you know what I mean.
Some very experienced engineers then.
We have, yeah. Some unique ones, if you know what I mean, who are very committed to what they do and get a great deal of satisfaction by being able to see what they've done, what they've produced, and it being tested to the full on a circuit. And then if you get the result, there's a great deal of satisfaction, isn't there?
One thing that makes this place absolutely amazing is that it's a family-run business, and well, we're all one big family here.
Mike doesn't just start this as a sort of business to make money. He's actually an enthusiast at heart, so it stems from there. I think that actually everybody that works here is actually an enthusiast and is passionate about the actual classic car.
Jones, car started by Robin Liddell. They have finished in an excellent third. They're happy with that, you can tell.
Robin, you started, and this is a special car for your family, of course.
Absolutely, it was my father's car. He bought it from the Stewarts, from Jackie Stewart. 1963, raced it extensively in Scotland at Charter Hall and in the north of England. So to be reunited with this car now, 50 years later, it's obviously quite a special moment for me. Delighted to have shared the car with Matt and drive for Mike and Michael Wilkinson here. They've done a fantastic job with this car. It's a beautiful car and freshly rebuilt. We would have liked a wee bit more time to prepare with the car for the race, but I think to come out here first time and finish on the podium is a real credit to the preparation that Mike Wilkinson and his team have done.
Well done, Robin. Matt, you were absolutely flying.
The car was fantastic, to be perfectly honest. I just had to get in it. Robin gave me a good car. It's a shame what happened at the start. It was unavoidable.
50 Liddell spun. There's a lot of oil down there. 16, 8 and 50 all spun.
It's all about the car, to be honest with you. I'm just a pilot. If we hadn't had that problem at the start, maybe we would have won. But I know I just wanted to give these boys a good result, so I'm really, really happy.
Very well done. Robin Liddell and Matt Nicol-Jones.
My father's knowledge is not something that's just in a book. He's actually the encyclopedia of Jaguar cars, and now my brother is the second encyclopedia of Jaguar cars.
In some instances, people who come into looking after these cars, a lot of them don't know how one should go. And I was fortunate, you know, I've been driving them since I was 16 years old. And I'm 72 now, and I can get in one, and I know whether it's as it should be or not. And I think that's important, you know, that you know how one should drive and if it's right. And you know, a lot of people say, oh, it's an old car, that's how they were. Not at all.
Their knowledge has always been there, and their strength of knowing what they're talking about has given confidence in our customers to look to buy from us, whether it's a nut and bolt, minor service to full restoration, to looking for us to improve a car for engine performance and reliability, and then even further afield now with the historic motor racing. It's because we've got that knowledge, expertise to help guide you, and people like the fact that we're not just a computer, we're people, and we're here to still help. And if anything, we do it the old-fashioned way. When you buy a car from us, whether you buy anything from us, you're buying a part of the family ethos that we're all about looking after you.
We try to make the experience you get if you get a car that's been worked on and been maintained or produced by us, that will be a Jaguar, not a kit car, not something that's got lots and lots of, you know, extras. But, you know, in general, we try to keep the car as original to give the driving and the enjoyment that a Jaguar should do.
Our reputation has become such that people know if you want to know anything about Jaguar cars, M&C Wilkinson Limited, with say a selection on the other side, you are at the right place straight away.
If you want to be at the front of the historic motor racing grid, then there's probably no better place to be than here.